seems to have found another gear this offseason.
Well, everybody that's been at camp has remarked about how quick and fast Jalen Hurts has looked at training camp. I don't know if at the age of 28 you can get much faster, but it seems like he has this summer. There's a lot to learn. They're going to lean on him to run more, operate this offense. He's going to have to be mobile. But I didn't realize that at 28 you could gain speed. How does that happen? Help me out here.
So it's the offensive system that actually demands a lot of it as well. I remember talking to Matt Ryan when Kyle Shanahan went there, and he was the offensive coordinator. Matt Ryan won, offensive player MVP of the league in 2016. It demands you because you have to get over there with the play fix, get over there and hand the football off coming under center, and on naked bootlegs. You have to be in tip-top shape from a quarterback perspective. On top of that, you look at Jalen Hurts. It's all about giving the offense an advantage over the defense. And if you have to play, Lewis, like you alluded to, 11 on 11 football, that gives you an advantage offensively because now the numbers are skewed towards the offense.
Look, I think Jalen understands what's at stake. I think he understands what the discourse is surrounding him, his fit in this offense as they try to get this offense to evolve and become a much more, let's just say, diverse passing attack. I think Sean Mannion is probably, without a doubt, asking him to do some things, that he isn't accustomed to doing, maybe he isn't always comfortable doing, but he is taking on the challenge of doing. And when you know all those things are going to be asked of you, there's no doubt he probably drilled down on his preparation this offseason, unlike he ever has. Although, look, Jalen Hurts really doesn't. He has to prove something to this organization, I think, to the football public overall, in terms of, in the grand scheme of things and the way they're trying to evolve this offense. But he's a very accomplished player already. But even accomplished players, they're always looking to go to another level. Obviously, it looks like he's put in the work. And look, as far as his legs are concerned, when it's time to use them, he'll use them. It's not going to be a main focal point for their offense. But this is one of the most dangerous runners in the National Football League. And look, what we're talking about is you get down inside the 20, Jalen Hurts is a problem. As a former defensive player, when you know you're playing 11 on 11 football, that is a problem. And they cannot take that away from him. That part of his game, no matter what they're trying to do from a passing game perspective with this football team, they cannot take away the ability of this young man to absolutely dice people up, especially when you get down inside the 20.
4 straight seasons with double-digit touchdowns, and then it dropped last year to 8 because he was going to run less. Fewest rushing attempts since his rookie season. Now it looks like he might be running a little bit more. Another year, another offensive coordinator. Do you think we need to see Hurts in the preseason to get acclimated for week 1?
Well, we'll see whether they decide to use him. I think it's probably always a good idea to get the guy out there to give him a taste of what it's like in live action. They have not yet said whether they'll use him in any part of the 3 games. I would not be surprised if we saw Hurts for a couple of series in one of these games, maybe the second preseason game. That would seem to make some sense. It always makes sense until somebody gets hurt, until your starter gets hurt. But I would think that they may give him a little taste before the regular season begins.
Yeah, I think you have to. It's a brand new offensive system. There are things within this system that Jalen Hurts is not accustomed to doing based on his prior time in Philadelphia. So why not iron some kinks out in preseason so you can hit the ground running probably a little bit faster when the regular season does start?
Yeah, it's always a little bit of a debate as to just how beneficial preseason games are. 10 snaps to a guy, of his experience and in his resume. Look, it's obviously much different putting on your game uniform, coming out for pregame, going out there in front of fans. Coaches are on the sideline. That's even much different than joint practices. It is a unique experience. But, I mean, how many reps are you going to get to where you really feel as though it was a benefit to you, relative to what's the risk that you're putting your star quarterback at in a game here where you're going to play 10 snaps, one body rolls into your leg, and all of a sudden your season is ruined. That's always the dance that coaches are trying to do. Look, I always feel as though, you get better at football by playing football in game conditions. But when you're talking about guys of this, of this caliber, man, I don't know.
But see, my thing is, you have players. Look at the list of injuries that you have right now in training camp.
I know.
Without tackle football.
Which speaks to, I think, a bigger problem.
But if it's your time to get hurt, you can't really pinpoint, okay, man, I'm going to get hurt today. It happens, it happens.
What's the problem?
I don't know. You know what? I have some really highly qualified trainer friends in the National Football League, and you know some of them, Adam. And that really, we've had this discussion as far as how players are training in the offseason, the amount of time that you don't get on the football field in the offseason as compared to the way it used to be. Really, the time to actually play football has really been cut down. The time to practice football has really been cut down. And then guys are thrown right into the fire in training camp and then the season.
And it seems like there's a big injury a day right
exactly.
now. In training camp. We haven't even gotten to the games.
Maybe, I don't know. I think it's something that they need to look at, though, because it does seem a little bit more prevalent now than it was in the past. Maybe we just draw more attention to it now because we cover it a lot more. But it just seems as though, God, I mean, every single day somebody's going down.
The rules have changed a bit since you were playing. Not a lot, but like you went through all this. Less time on the field. How detrimental can that be?
Well, like we had 2-a-days when we were playing. So
yeah,
like
full contact live 2-a-days.
Like we didn't leave the building at times to 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. Now they're leaving the building at 7:30, 8 p.m. It's drastically different than where it used to be. But I think, to Lewis's point, that is something that you have to look at. These guys aren't training the way that players used to. That's probably why we have a lot more injuries now.
So it's drastically different. It's scaled back, and yet it feels like, I can't prove it, but it feels like the injuries have increased.
Yeah, it feels that way. We need to see the numbers. Like, again, we talk about it a whole lot more. The coverage on the NFL is a lot more white hot all the time. But, man, it's just – it catches your attention for sure. Let's just put it that way.
It's helping that they're trying to cut down on preseason games, but at the same time, you want to add more to the regular season. The off-season program to get ready is going to be something that they're going to have to monitor. First, Vikings named Kyler Murray their starting quarterback. It was the expected conclusion to the team's competition, despite a rocky series of practices leading to the decision. Murray spoke about the process as he begins the second chapter of his career.
The whole process was great. You know, full transparency from KO to me to JJ to everybody in the room. You know, the competition was what it was, and it's everything I expected it to be. I didn't expect to be handed the job or anything like that. I just expected to come here and compete, and I'm very appreciative of how it was handled.
All right, our football team is here, suited and booted. Shefty, we're going to begin with you. Empty the notebook for us and take us through how the Vikings arrived at this decision and why they chose now to do it.
Well, I think this is the decision that most people expected when they signed Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray picked the Vikings as much as they picked him. And the Vikings had moved on, not their choice, from veterans like Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold and watched those quarterbacks thrive in other cities. They wanted a veteran quarterback presence, somebody capable of winning their starting job and taking this team back to the heights it achieved a couple of seasons ago. They identified Kyler Murray as that guy. You can't say that they let this competition play out as long as it could have because they named Kyler Murray before they played a preseason game. So clearly they wanted Kyler Murray to be the guy. They turned to him yesterday, and they are hoping that he can revive his career. He's also on a deal that expires after the season. He has a clause in his contract that says he can't be tagged, and if he plays the way that they think he can and he wants to, he's not going to want to leave there. He's going to want to be in Minnesota. They're going to want him there. So this is set up for both sides to enter into a long-term relationship.
All right, so the starter reps are there. The Vikings can move forward with their guy. Lewis, take me through it here. In year one under Kevin O'Connell, who has worked some magic with other quarterbacks, what's the upside here?
Look, I think he now puts them in position to win the division. Like, I think the NFC North is up for grabs. And if they can get 2024 Kyler to go ahead and kind of like resurface here in 2026, I think you're going to see this offense really take off and go to another level. This is tape from 2024. This is what Kevin O'Connell and the fellas, Josh McCown, were watching. Operation from under center, ball handling, play action passing, layering the football second and third level with accuracy. How about this? How about this pre-snap recognition, understanding the matchups that you have? Here they're going with the 7-step drop, half roll, play action pass, deep shot here on a 7 route in the corner. I mean, that's right there. That's textbook. That's just how you draw it up. That's the kind of thing that Kevin wants to get to. That's the kind of thing that most people don't really associate with Kyler Murray. They think he's really strictly just a gun quarterback who runs around, makes second reaction plays, and really wins with his legs. He can win from the pocket now. And I think this, for them, this really wasn't about a competition. This was about confirmation of what they saw on tape in 2024. And as long as he showed something like that, this job always was his.
All right, so Harry, help me out with something. Our friends at DraftKings have Minnesota right around 5-1 to win the NFC North. That's worst of all 4 teams that are in that division. Detroit's got some injury concerns. Chicago's got some injury concerns. We haven't heard a whole lot about Green Bay this offseason. Micah Parsons is still out. Do you see the Vikings being a team that can win this division?
No doubt. They would have easily won it a season ago if they had competent quarterback play. They went 9-8 in 17 games. And the way this team is made up right now currently, you look at that defense that was just about top 10 in every statistical category last year, and you have one of the best pass-catching groups in the NFL, solid offensive line when they're healthy, they don't need Kyler Murray to go out there and be Superman. All we need you to do is be a ball distributor, and when the play asks you to be astronomical, that's when you do it. So you have the weaponry everywhere. You have the defense to back you up. But I do believe if Kyler Murray is playing very, very well, that the Minnesota Vikings can win this division, and I don't think it's something that people should be questioning.
Yeah, look, there was never a question about Kyler's ability, even when he was in Arizona. And even though it didn't work out there for him, this is more about, I think Kyler's ceiling has really been about maybe his maturity not being where it needed to be and to really elevate that organization the way they needed it to be elevated. He doesn't necessarily need to do that here in Minnesota. They've got leadership in place there. They've got everything in place. This is a situation where he can just kind of like insert himself and really now just let his football ability take over. I think it's a perfect situation for him, quite honestly.
Every quarterback battle has a winner, Kyler Murray in this case, but there's also a loser as well. So where does this leave former first-round pick J.J. McCarthy?
Look, we've seen former high picks benched and respond in various ways. Bryce Young was benched and bounced back to win the starting job and recapture some of his form. We've seen other quarterbacks like Anthony Richardson, Trey Lance get benched and not recover. It would seem at this point in time that J.J. McCarthy's days in Minnesota are numbered. Now, they did sign Carson Wentz. They have Kyler Murray. They have Carson Wentz. And Kevin O'Connell said yesterday they absolutely want to keep and grow J.J. McCarthy. But let's be honest here. They turned to Kyler Murray, and I think that it's fair to assume that J.J. McCarthy, in time, whether it's before the final cut this year, at the trade deadline, after the season, will be moving on from Minnesota at some point in time. You have to see which team out there could make a run for him. The obvious fit, as we've discussed, would be the Chargers, Jim Harbaugh. They have Justin Herbert. Bring him in there to help kind of get him back on the right track. But again, I think most people believe that Minnesota is a place that J.J. McCarthy will be moving on from at some point here in the future.
It's going to be fascinating to watch considering where he was just a short time ago. And now Kyler Murray is your man in Minnesota. Coming up, Jamar chasing history with a bold touchdown goal. The question is, can he get there? And what does it mean for his team if he does? Plus, run, Eagles, run. Jalen Hurts is drawing rave reviews for his speed in camp. Is he about to have a huge bounce-back season? And Shefty is going to have fascinating breaking news about the Cowboys. We're coming right back. Was that just happening?
Breaking, it's interesting.
Stick around.